Home Minister Amit Shah says abrogation of Article 370 in Jammu and Kashmir will lead to end of terrorism and progress of the region. Hails Vice President Venkaiah Naidu for smooth conduct of Rajya Sabha during passage of the bill. INB Minister Prakash Javadekar says there is absolute peace in the valley. Centre terms media reports of large-scale protest in Srinagar as completely fabricated and incorrect. Says there have been a few stray protests, none involving crowd of more than 20 people. Situation remains normal in Jammu and Kashmir. Srinagar and other towns were full of traffic and people busy with Eid shopping. All kinds of restrictions withdrawn from Jammu, Katwa, Samba, Udhampur and Riyasi. Home Minister Amit Shah to conduct aerial survey of the flood-affected areas in Karnataka, also to hold meeting with senior officials to evaluate rescue and rehabilitation measures. In sports, second match of the 3 ODI series to be played between India and West Indies at the Queen's Park Oval in Port of Spain. Trinidad, first ODI was abandoned due to rain after 13 overs. Good afternoon, I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Union Home Minister Amit Shah today said that removal of special status to Jammu and Kashmir under Article 370 of the Constitution will lead to an end of terrorism and progress of the region. He was speaking at the launch of a book on Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu in Chennai today. Shah said he firmly believed that Article 370 should be removed as it was not beneficial to the country.
मैं फर्मली मानता हूं कि धारा 370 से देश का भला नहीं हुआ, कश्मीर का भला नहीं हुआ, बहुत पहले हटनी चाहिए थी। एज अ होम मिनिस्टर मेरे मन में जरा भी कंफ्यूजन नहीं था कि धारा 370 के बाद क्या होगा। मैं निश्चित रूप से मानता हूं कि धारा 370 हटने के बाद कश्मीर के अंदर आतंकवाद की समाप्ति होगी और कश्मीर विकास के रास्ते पे आगे बढ़ जाएगा।
At the program, Amit Shah also hailed the role of Vice President as Chairman of the Upper House during the discussion and passage of the bill related to Jammu and Kashmir.
वेंकैया जी की कुशलता का ही परिणाम है कि सभी विपक्ष के मित्रों को सुनते 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 इस बिल को डिवीजन तक कहीं भी कोई ऐसा दृश्य खड़ा नहीं हुआ जिसके कारण देश की जनता को ये लगे कि ऊपरी सदन की गरिमा नीचे आई है। मैं वेंकैया जी की सदन के संचालन की कुशलता को आज भी ये मंच पर से इसको एक्नॉलेज करना चाहता हूं।
Addressing the gathering, Information and Broadcasting Minister Prakash Javadekar said there is absolute peace in Kashmir and not even a single shell of tear gas has been fired in the valley.
After 6 days, there is not even a tear gas shell has been used in Kashmir Valley. People are peaceful, people have already adjusted because they wanted this to happen, because they wanted their rights back.
Prakash Javadekar said that with removal of provisions under Article 370 in Jammu and Kashmir, 106 acts will now be applicable in the Union Territory, ultimately benefiting the people.
370, abrogation of 370, creating a Ladakh new Union Territory, giving people of Jammu and Kashmir their rights which were denied for years together. For 70 years they were denied. 106 acts which are applicable throughout the country are not applicable in Jammu Kashmir. And that when he gave it, there was practically all corners supported him in the House, and 370 was abrogated with 370 exact votes in Lok Sabha.
Union Home Ministry has termed as incorrect and fabricated a Reuters report on protests in Kashmir following abrogation of Article 370. New agency Reuters showed a video claiming large-scale protests in Kashmir against the revocation of Article 370. A Home Ministry spokesperson said that the reports of protest involving 10,000 people in Srinagar were completely fabricated and incorrect. In a tweet, spokesperson said, There have been a few stray protests in Srinagar and Baramulla, and none involved a crowd of more than 20 people. Situation showed significant improvement in Jammu and Kashmir, with Srinagar city witnessing normal traffic as people thronged ATMs to collect cash for the upcoming festivities. Autos and cars were seen plying on the road and several of the shops remained open. The Kargil region also witnessed heavy rush in the markets and other business establishments as people enthusiastically shopped for Eid. Banks, colleges and schools were also functioning normally. In Jammu Division, a prohibitory order under Section 144 have been completely lifted in 5 districts, and curfew was relaxed in Rajouri, Doda, Poonch, Ramban and Kishtwar districts. The relaxation period passed off peacefully and no untoward incident was reported from any district during the relaxation period. All schools and colleges reopened in 5 districts of the Jammu region. And my colleague Mark Lynn is joining us from Srinagar with more updates. Mark, ahead of Eid festivities, give us a picture of the situation in Kashmir.
Well, the administration is going out of its way to help the people to celebrate Eid with traditional fervor. They've fulfilled all their commitments that they have made to the people in terms of keeping supplies open, supplies that are necessary for the celebrations. They've also appealed, they've had a dialogue with several imams of mosques. That happened today, and they've appealed to the imams through their influence to keep the situation in calm and even during prayers tomorrow. So the situation is relatively peaceful. Restrictions are in place in certain places. They've been relaxed in some places, but also reimposed depending on the assessment of the situation. People are generally calm. They are not, from what we've gone around a few places, and it looks like a normal day under normal circumstances. But of course, there are barricades and everything that one would expect when Section 144 is in place. And people seem to be, taking it in their stride. They understand the situation, and they are making their last-minute purchases from whatever shops are open. There are a few shops open. Also, there are some makeshift shops on the roads, which people are purchasing whatever they require for the festivities tomorrow. So things look pretty much in place for decent celebrations of Eid tomorrow right here in Srinagar. Shubhendu.
Right, Mark. Also, there have been some false reports of large-scale protest in Srinagar. The Home Ministry, of course, has denied any such event. If you could give us an update on that from the ground. Well, there have been a few incidents, one would say, but no untoward incident. And right.
As the Ministry of External Affairs, maybe a few protests of about 20 people or so at max. But they have not, because of Section 144 in place. Also, these are precautionary measures that the government has taken. And people also themselves are not really, don't seem to be coming out with a mind to protest. It doesn't certainly seem to be the underlying intention. People seem to be accepting this decision. They seem to be taking it in their stride. They are understanding the benefits and looking at the cons as well. But over time, they're coming to terms. And
Right.
that is the process through which this period of time, one would say, is the assessment that is going on. After all, people in Kashmir, they are trying to understand, and that is why the dialogue is taking place. People, in fact, the administration is doing their best. There are grievance redressal systems that are in place. There are telephone booths that have been set up for people to make their phone calls to near and dear ones. Telecommunications will be, as the situation improves, they will be they're reassessing the situation, and once again, they will be made active. But
Right.
that's over time. Things are not yet in place. We are not right. We have to cross that bridge when we reach there. Right now, things are pretty much in control. One would say the situation remains calm. I've been to quite a few places in the city of Srinagar today, and there were no untoward incidents, and lots of people are out on the streets. The vehicles are moving quite smoothly, and things look quite good.
Right, Mark, also availability of essential commodities. We also shared with our viewers that people are thronging ATMs ahead of the festivities to withdraw cash. As far as availability and stock up is concerned, how does that stand in the marketplaces across Srinagar?
Well, the ATMs have cash in them, and of course, because of the restrictions that were in place, people probably didn't come out earlier, and as a result, they're coming out closer to the Eid, and they are drawing money for the need of for the celebrations. And as has become the habit, people are used to standing in queues, and they are standing in queues,
Right.
and they are waiting to draw their money. That's the situation as it is. But there is no shortage.
Okay.
There is money in the ATMs, and people are going to the ATMs and drawing their money.
Right, Mark. Tell us a little more about the way communication networks are operating. Eid is as much about meeting and greeting and exchanging greetings. On that front, what facilities are made available given the restrictions so that people can get in touch with their loved ones?
The government had promised to set up 300 PCO booths in a short span of time. They have set up a few in government offices, and they are being utilized. People, it's more or less a one-way street. They call out to people who they need to get in touch with, and they find out, they tell them about the situation and tell them that they are safe, etc. Most of the people talk for about 3 to 4 minutes. The calls, the people are cooperating with the administration. They have trust in the administration in these call booths. I had witnessed yesterday, I had gone to the office of the divisional commissioner there, where there is a call booth there, and I saw a large group of people, and it was very well streamlined. People were very patient. They finished their talk, each one using the phone, and then waiting for the next person to do so. And well, they seem to be communicating. And
Right.
also there are various numbers that are available in the public domain for the people to contact from outside. And they can contact those numbers and perhaps find out about the situation in a particular area. Specifically, they may not be able to
All right.
contact one individual, but it's for the individual to contact them. And those facilities have been made.
All right there, Mark. Appreciate you joining us with all those inputs. My colleague Mark Lane giving us update about the ground situation in Srinagar and the ways in which things are moving towards normalcy in Kashmir. Thanks very much, Mark. Moving on, Union Home Minister Amit Shah today released a book titled Listening, Learning and Leading, chronicling the 2 years in office by Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu. The book was released in Chennai at a function organized by Information and Broadcasting Ministry. The Vice President and the Information and Broadcasting Minister, Prakash Javadekar, were present on the occasion. Home Minister Amit Shah said that Vice President has always been in a union with the nation, feeling its pain and pulse, adding that this is what has made him a successful leader in public life. INB Minister also hailed Vice President for effectively managing proceedings in the upper house of Parliament. He also said that Naidu is respected by all members of the House, irrespective of the party they belong to. The book captures glimpses of Vice President's 330 public engagements across the country in the past 2 years. The book also showcases Vice President's tenure as Rajya Sabha Chairman in enhancing its effectiveness and promoting efficiency.
Learning is a continuous process because the world is advancing. We are a global village now. Things are happening. New technology, new ideas, new innovation, out-of-box ideas. Science is making improvements. So new things will come out. And you have opened up. And you are living in an era of LPG, liberalization, privatization, globalization. So everything is competition now. So you have to go on learning. That's the purpose of calling all these great learned people here to this function.
देश के उपराष्ट्रपति और राज्यसभा के चेयरमैन के नाते वेंकैया जी राज्यसभा का और पूरे देश का मार्गदर्शन करते हैं। ये विधि का ही विधान है कि जो वेंकैया नायडू ने 370 के खिलाफ आंदोलन किया था, धारा 370 हटाने का जब प्रस्ताव आया तब वेंकैया जी राज्यसभा के चेयरमैन के नाते उसकी अध्यक्षता कर रहे थे।
It is the collection of his engagement with various sectors in last 2 years as Vice President, foreign as well as national, as well as in the House. So all aspects of his activities are covered. And I must compliment my team in publication division also. They have brought out a very good book which you will cherish. Because alliteration and very witty remarks is his strength. In Parliament, in Rajya Sabha, we always experience this. He says, discuss, debate, but don't disturb.
And Vice President also viewed a special exhibition on the occasion. Some updates on the flood situation across the country as the rain fury continued unabated in most parts of Kerala. It's rocked by 80 landslides and floods over the last 4 days. The toll climbed to 60 on Saturday, even as more than 2 lakh people have been taking shelter in over 1,500 relief camps across the state. There were reports of let-up in rains in some parts, while IMD issued a red alert for 3 districts, that's Wayanad, Kannur and Kasaragod for today. Various agencies, including the Army, Navy, Coast Guard, NDRF, police force, volunteers and fishermen are involved in the rescue operations at various places. Rail, road and air transport took a hit in the state, with several trains being cancelled while some other diverted due to floods. The international airport at state's commercial capital Kochi, which was closed for 2 days after inundation of the runway, will resume operations today. And Union Home Minister Amit Shah will conduct an aerial survey of the flood-affected areas of Karnataka today. Home Minister will assess the flood situation in Belgavi district. Chief Minister B.S. Yediyurappa will also accompany him. After conducting aerial survey, Yediyurappa will meet senior officials in the presence of Amit Shah in Belgavi to evaluate rescue and rehabilitation measures. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman had also visited the flood-affected areas in Belgaum. Meanwhile, all schools and colleges, both government and private, in affected flood-hit districts will remain closed till August 15th. Karnataka government on Saturday declared 80 talukas in 17 districts flood-affected, even as the death toll rose to 26 and thousands of people were rendered homeless. Meanwhile, over 4 lakh people have been evacuated to safer places from flood-affected parts of Maharashtra in the last 5 days, including over 3.5 lakh from the worst-hit Kolhapur and Sangli districts, where water began to recede slowly on Saturday. While the overall situation, especially in Kolhapur and Sangli, has improved slightly yesterday, evacuation of people from flooded areas continue. Apart from local administration, NDRF, SDRF, Army, Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard teams are involved in the rescue and relief operations. Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis reviewed the rescue and relief operations in Sangli on Saturday. And those visuals about Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis, Chief Minister of Maharashtra, taking stock of the rescue and relief work, interacting with the NDRF and the rescue teams, also listening to the grievances of the people in view of large-scale floods that are being experienced in the state of Maharashtra. Maharashtra government has released 154 crore rupees so far for the flood relief initiatives. The situation of floods in Gujarat is getting back to normal. However, the local administration has advised people to stay safe as there is forecast of more rain today. The level of Vishwamitri River is being constantly monitored by the administration. Floods have affected several parts of the state. Waterlogging was witnessed due to heavy rains in several areas of Rajkot and Kutch. Several teams have been deployed in the area to rescue people. as heavy rains wreaked havoc in Gujarat, in which many lives have been lost. Heart-wrenching visuals also emerge from the flood situation every day. However, sometimes heartwarming pictures and videos of rescue operations are also seen. And one such inspiring video comes from Tankara town of Morbi district, where a Gujarat cop risked his own life to save two young girls from gushing flood waters. Students of a school in Kalyanpur were stranded after incessant rains lashed the area for 5 hours. As 43 children were trapped in the school and water accumulated around it, the worried school administration sought the police's help. Constable Prithviraj Singh Jadeja was part of the police team. Those are the visuals of the inspiring efforts by the police person. 2 rescue missions were flown by helicopters SWAC late last evening from Jamnagar around the village of Balaba, Jamnagar district. 14 persons picked up by Wing Commander U.C. Vaish by landing at a narrow road. While Wing Commander Vishal Jain winched up 16 marooned persons from an inaccessible area, several crocodiles have also been rescued during the floods in the city. Some sports update. After rain affected the first one-day international between India and West Indies, the two teams will be hoping that the rain stays away from the second ODI scheduled to be played at Port of Spain, Trinidad today. For India, it will be about starting afresh after a heartbreaking loss in the semi-finals of the 2019 World Cup. The batting looks solid at the top, with Shikhar Dhawan coming back to the join. Rohit Sharma and skipper Virat Kohli will once again get to play freely at the number 3 position. For West Indies, after the loss in the T20 series, it will be all about playing for pride, as they're considered a better outfit in the limited overs format. Also, with Gale playing his last series for the Windies, that should add to the motivation factor for the hosts. Muslim pilgrims poured onto the plains of Arafat, southeast of Mecca, to mark the day of Arafat during the pilgrimage. The day of Arafat, considered the most important day during the pilgrimage of Hajj, sees pilgrims making their way to the site of Mount Arafat to spend much of the day in prayers. Beginning on Saturday, it would continue till Sunday evening. Muslims believe that Prophet Muhammad delivered his last sermon to believers at Mount Arafat. And before we close, the top stories once again. Home Minister Amit Shah says abrogation of Article 370 in Jammu and Kashmir will lead to end of terrorism and progress of the region. Hails Vice President Venkaiah Naidu for smooth conduct of Rajya Sabha during passage of the bill. INB Minister Prakash Javadekar says there is absolute peace in the valley. Centre terms media reports of large-scale protests in Srinagar as completely fabricated and incorrect, says there have been a few stray protests, none involving a crowd of more than 20 people. Situation remains normal in Jammu and Kashmir. Srinagar and other towns were full of traffic and people busy with Eid shopping. All kinds of restrictions withdrawn from Jammu, Katwa, Samba, Udhampur and Riyasi. Home Minister Amit Shah to conduct aerial survey of the flood-affected areas in Karnataka, also to hold meetings with senior officials to evaluate rescue and rehabilitation measures. And in cricket, second match of the 3 ODI series to be played between India and West Indies at the Queen's Park Oval in Port of Spain, Trinidad. First ODI was abandoned due to rain after 13 overs. And with that, we conclude this bulletin. Namaskar.
ई-शॉपिंग साइट पर